Hey guys, one of the most common problems recreational players experience on their flat serve is that they accidentally put kick on it. So here's what it looks like. Players would line up to hit a hard flat serve, most likely on a first serve, and they end up with something like this. A weak serve that's kind of spinny and it's sitting there in the middle of the box and it's ready to be attacked by the opponent. All right guys, before we get started, let me first explain what a flat serve should look like. So on a flat serve, you can throw the ball at 12 o'clock, or you can actually even keep it at 1 o'clock. In the 12 to 1 o'clock area is an okay toss location for the flat serve. Now, one thing that the flat serve needs is torso rotation, because what we want to achieve at the moment of contact is a more vertical position of the racket head. So when we attempt to toss the ball between 12 and 1 o'clock, and we rotate into the contact naturally without us being conscious of it, the racket head is going to be more vertical at the moment of contact. On a kick serve, the angle of the racket face is going to be different, but the toss can surprisingly be similar to your flat serve. You can theoretically leave the toss at 12 o'clock if you stay sideways at the moment of contact. Naturally, the angle of the racket face is going to be positioned more towards the left, so that then when you go up and across the ball, naturally, you're going to impart topspin. So here's where it gets a little bit complex. So if you are attempting to toss the ball at 12 and the ball ends up going towards 11, I'm talking about right-handers, you are going to get accidental kick on the serve. You're going to accidentally put spin on it as a result of it. Take a look. I'm going to throw the ball over here and I'm going to create this topspin accidentally. Theoretically, it is still possible that I hit forward on the ball, but it's very unlikely to happen because the whole entire body in a sideways position is blocking the arm from going forward. So naturally, most players, when they attempt to toss the ball at 12 o'clock, but then accidentally it goes too far over towards this side, they will get spin on the ball by accident. Now let me clarify what I mean by 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock, or even 1 o'clock if you try to hit a slice serve. So basically, when you're in a sideways position, your left shoulder is going to be where you're pointing towards the clock. So if I line my body up like this, naturally, 12 o'clock is going to be aligned with my left shoulder, and it's going to be the same for left-handed players. Your right shoulder is going to be where the 12 o'clock toss is positioned. So let me show you the different toss locations. 1 o'clock is going to be over here. 12 o'clock is going to be right here in the middle. And 11 o'clock is going to be on my left. Now, of course, if you're left-handed, you got to flip everything around the other way. So up to this point, it's pretty simple. Players that attempt to toss the ball at 12 or 1, the ball accidentally ends up going too far to the left, which, by the way, can often happen if you have a parallel toss, because the arm is going parallel towards the baseline and it's staying along the baseline, so that when you release it, this movement of the arm will naturally propel the ball too far towards the left. So it's important that you imagine a basketball hoop right on top of your head, and it's actually going to be in front of you. So you're going to imagine sky hooking the ball through that hoop. As the arm is going parallel to the baseline, you got to imagine bringing that ball to drop straight down the middle. So in that case, the parallel toss arm technique is perfectly fine to use. But if you don't have enough feel in your arm and the toss is consistently going too far to the left, you might want to look into tossing the ball maybe with a straight arm toss where the arm is going straight forward, or more with the diagonal toss. These two tosses will have a lot less arc than the parallel arm toss. The straightforward toss has no arc at all, and the diagonal toss only has a slight arc. All right guys, now it's going to get a little bit complex, but I'm going to go really slow so that you understand what I'm about to explain to you. So if you have a platform stance, it's pretty straightforward how the toss is going to work. But basically, the body is going to remain in the same position. The feet are not going to move. So if you intend to toss the ball towards your left shoulder, this is going to be pretty easy to do. Generally, once you release the ball, that's when the racket is going to start to go up, but not necessarily. Some people have an up together type movement. So no matter what serve that you're attempting, you always need to select the location of the toss prior to everything else happening in the serve. So that is the first thing you got to do, because that's the first thing that happens on most serves. Everything else follows along after. So for example, if you're talking about a serve with a lag that also has a pinpoint stance, we're going to be tossing the ball first, and then as the racket is going up, now the back foot's going to move up. So it is of the utmost importance that when you are deciding where to toss the ball, that you do this as the first thing on your serve. It is going to be absolutely impossible to select the location later on in the service motion. This is going to be very confusing. It's going to be almost impossible to execute, to change the direction of your toss towards the end of the toss. The best thing to do is to select the location prior to doing anything, because on the vast majority of the serves, the toss is going to be the initiation of the service motion. And most tennis players serve with a pinpoint stance. The reason for that is quite simple, because you get a little bit more momentum on your serve when that back foot is pulling up to the front foot. So most professional players have this as their style of choice. On the WTA Tour, the pinpoint stance serve is almost ubiquitous, but also on the ATP Tour, the vast majority of players use a pinpoint stance serve. Interestingly, at the recreational level, a lot of players use the pinpoint stance serve as well. I do a tremendous amount of video analysis, and I would say 80% of serves that I see in my video analysis, players are executing their serves with a pinpoint stance. If you're interested in finding out all the different stances that we have on a tennis serve, I made a great video called Pinpoint versus Platform, where I discuss all the different stances that professional players use on their serves, but one in particular which is called the lateral pinpoint stance, which is basically this, where the back foot is on the outside of the front foot. So basically there's a gap between the front foot and the back foot, so the player is a little bit more turned. So now, here's where the complexity of the problem lies. Most recreational players that I see have this exact setup. Maybe they're a little bit closer, but as long as the back foot is behind the front foot towards the left, from my perspective, now we're going to have serious problems when it comes to the toss if we don't intend to throw it at the right place. So remember when I told you we're going to use the left shoulder as our guide for 12 o'clock, because our body position is not going to change. So if I start like this and I intend to throw the ball at 12 o'clock where my left shoulder is, unfortunately, I'm not going to remain in this position. Once I release the ball and my racket starts to go up, I'm going to start pulling my back foot up to the front foot, and all of a sudden my body position changes. Now 12 o'clock is not over here anymore. All of a sudden 12 o'clock is here. Now if you intended to throw the ball at 12 o'clock where you started from, now once you pull into this position, all of a sudden that 12 o'clock toss that you intended is going to end up at 11 o'clock, and naturally you're going to end up with an accidental kick serve as a result of it. So what you have to do if you serve with a lateral pinpoint stance setup is that you have to intend to throw the ball along your front foot. That is going to be your 12 o'clock. So it's not going to be at your shoulder anymore, because once we get into the trophy phase, our foot is going to pull up to this foot. Sometimes it goes on the outside, sometimes it's going to go right behind the foot. In any case, our body position has moved from here to here, and now all of a sudden 12 o'clock is going to be here. So what you have to do is intend to toss the ball where your right foot is. That is going to be your 12 o'clock toss on this particular style of serve. So the solution for you to stop getting that accidental spin on your flat serve is to intend to toss the ball where your left foot is for right-handed players. When you do that, when you have this as your intention, once that back foot pulls up and our ball is sitting right here at 12 o'clock, now you can comfortably rotate into the ball. Naturally, the racket head is going to be more vertical at the moment of contact, and you're going to be able to execute a flat serve that's going to have a lot more pop. Here's another thing that happens if you try to flatten out a toss that's more on your left side. So regardless of what stance you have, if you have a toss that goes too far to the left, if you're pulling the foot up on a pinpoint stance, or even if you have a platform stance and your toss goes over here in this area, and now naturally players will try to rotate on their flat serves. And something very interesting happens. When you intend the flat serve and the ball is over here, you will naturally lose balance. The body will twist in a very uncomfortable way, and now when you land, often your entire body weight will shift towards the left. Now this loss of balance won't happen on a real kick serve, because we're going to be more sideways and therefore more balanced to execute this type of serve. If we are rotating and attempt to hit the ball over here, naturally we lose balance. You see how my body weight is shifting this way? However, if I stay sideways on my kick serve, a toss, even over here, an extreme toss, like back in the day, those clay court specialists from Spain, they would toss the ball at 10 o'clock and they can comfortably reach the ball over here because they're in a more sideways position. They can bend the body comfortably backwards. And as they continue on their kick serve swing path, now once they land on the court, they're going to be perfectly balanced as a result of it. So guys, it got a little bit complex towards the end, but it makes sense, doesn't it? So if you have one of these problems, if you have a problem with your toss, getting it too far to the left, and then on top of that, if you happen to have a pinpoint stance, you have to have the right attention on your toss to fix this problem. Remember this simple tip. On a flat serve, you need to do two things. You need to rotate the torso and make contact with the vertical position of the racket head. When you do those two things, kick becomes impossible and you're guaranteed to get more zip on that flat serve. Oh, yeah. Oh my goodness. I think I have a big tear in my abs. I pulled my ab muscle so hard doing these bad serves on purpose. So in addition to everything that I said, losing power and missing your first serve, also you can hurt yourself because the body is such a awkward position. If you're trying to reach a ball that's over to your left and now you're rotating over here and your body is bending this way, I pulled my ab muscle so freaking hard. But you know what? I don't care. I'll take the pain as long as I can help you to serve better. Let me go ice this thing now.